What up? It's your boy Nick Incredible Man, and yes, I am back at it again. And this is 911 Lone Star Season 2, Episode 8, the winter finale. And oh my gosh. First of all, I love both shows, 911 and 911 Lone Star. And I will never, ever say anything bad about 911. But 911 Lone Star seems to be hitting just a tad different. And I'm not mad that both shows handle things differently. It sets them apart, but gives them their own world to live in as well. And 911 Lone Star seems to be hitting just a little bit different. This episode was legit. It was the whole entire episode was one thing. Everything that took place was the same. Like it all revolved around the same thing. There wasn't a couple cases and then we're dealing with some storyline that's going on. Like everything was combined. The cases were all connected. The case itself was connected through everything, and then we're dealing with some fallout about everything, and then we just have that huge cliffhanger. Oh my gosh. This episode was legit though because we get to see Carlos in a different light. We've gotten to know a little bit more about Carlos in season 1 and well, we got introduced to Carlos in season 1. This episode was a little different because it shined the spotlight on Carlos. We got to know Carlos in season 1, and in season 2 thus far we kind of just dove a little bit more into Carlos and kind of learned a little bit more about him and his family. And this episode really showcased what Carlos is really dealing with while dealing with his father in particular. Now, this episode started off when we see the guy in the bank and he's robbing the bank with a bomb on. He tells the lady not to hit the silent alarm. The lady hits the silent alarm anyway, and therefore the police get involved and Carlos and his partner pull up and they catch the dude leaving the bank. Now the dude is terrified. The dude is, his mind is just gone because he's strapped with a bomb to himself, and he's terrified because they snatched this man up while he was looking for work, and they strapped a bomb to him and made him rob a bank. So this man's mind is like, he's a little shot, and then he's worried about his son, and he's worried about being blown to smithereens. So Carlos decides to let him go. His partner's like, well, what are you doing? Don't trust him. He's lying. And that could have been valid, but you got to understand where Carlos coming from too. Even for me, man, the fear on dude's face looked legit. And you telling me, I'm not trying to be one to point out like his clothing situation, but you know the dude looked sweaty, nervous. He looked a little dirty. So this, you telling me this is the man that came in here with this plan to strap a bomb to himself, the in case things go wrong, blow himself up to rob a bank? Nah, something about this don't fit right, man. And so Carlos decided to let the dude loose. And it did work in his favor because he took down the license plate, but the car was registered stolen. They didn't have much to go on with the case, so Carlos got suspended. But also, while dealing with this at the same time, at the beginning of the episode, we see that TK is celebrating his anniversary for being sober, and we have everybody that's involved with the firehouse and their families. We're all just having a nice, wonderful celebration to celebrate TK. And Owen and Gwen decide not to tell TK that they're breaking up because they don't want to send him into a relapse. So that we're dealing with all that at the party night, and then now we're back to the case, which just happens to revolve throughout the entire episode. And I love that. I don't know how many times I'm going to say it, but I love that it revolved around the entire episode. So we have TK coming the next day, finding his mother's bag or boxes being packed up. And he's wondering what's going on, and she tells him the truth. Tells him that the baby is Enzo's, and her and his father aren't going to work out and be in a relationship anymore. But she did lay it out bare that it wasn't his father's fault. His father was willing to accept her in the baby. And TK just felt some type of way because they had done this to him yet again, and it kind of hurt his feelings a little bit. And the sad thing is because while TK's dealing with that, we have the actual case that's going on. So TK walks past his father, gives him a cold chill, and goes up about his business. And the next thing you know, Owen tries to talk to him. He gets on the call. He gets the call, and TK's out of the house. So next in comes Carlos to talk to TK, but TK's not there. So him and Owen have a nice chat, which we haven't really seen between Carlos and Owen actually sharing an actual conversation besides like, hey, or talking about a case or anything. So them to sit down and have a full-blown conversation was something that I enjoyed in this episode. I didn't know I needed it, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. And Carlos kind of ended up telling Owen what was going on, and Owen was like, well, you always got to trust your gut, especially when you're out there on a call. And he was like, well, I don't know, my father doesn't feel like this and da 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 da, because we see that Carlos's father, I guess you could say he's not really on his side. Maybe because, Carlos feels like it's because he's gay, but at the end of the episode, I didn't get that kind of vibe from his father. Maybe he just feels some type of way because Carlos doesn't share everything with him. I honestly don't know, because they didn't really touch on that part. But Carlos feels like it's because he's gay. But Owen tells Carlos something wonderful that I really loved, is that you need to have a heart behind that badge, and Carlos does have a heart, because any other officer would have either shot this dude or put him in a police car, and then they all would have blew up. So Carlos letting this guy go allowed him to live in everybody else in that entire situation. So I feel like Carlos has some good instincts, and that's what Owen tells him. Now, in that moment, we also see that TK and Captain Vega and Nancy get this call that Grace answered about this pregnant chick down in the thing. So they trick them and they get them and they take them away. Now they ended up taking them, but at the same time, we find out that these are the two robbers that made the dude rob the bank. But they're the same ones that started the fire in the bomb in the apartment where Captain Strand and everybody else had to put out the fire. So I just love how, like, because you didn't know that at first. It was like, oh, well, they're dealing with a fire and a bomb. But, like, us watching it, sure, we figured it out that these are the same people. 100% these are the same people. But, like, the way that they showed us, it didn't take that place, because we see the fire first, but then we see these criminals, I guess you will, because that's exactly what they are. We see these criminals taking TK and everyone hostage, and we find out that they were caught in an explosion. And then you kind of put two and two together and realize that, oh, they're the ones that started the explosion where Captain Strand and everyone was. Now, the only thing about that whole scene with the explosion in the house and everything, why aren't they, I feel like, now you learn this at school, and you learn all your drills and stuff at school, but why aren't these parents teaching this kid not to hide during a fire? That is the worst possible thing. You can stay low, and sure, you don't want to run out because you don't know, like, the entire situation, so, but the mom was on the couch and she had passed out because of the smoke inhalation, but the kid was fine and she went and hid. Why would, I don't know, they should really share that with their kids, man. Like, don't hide if there's a fire. You go outside. That's the first thing you need to do, is go outside if there's a fire. Don't hide. Please don't hide. And good thing they ended up finding her, because if not, she would have just been blown to smithereens, because the bomb went off because of all those chemicals that Captain Strand saw in this other building below them. So her hiding was just wrong, man. But so they ended up taking TK and everybody hostage, but Captain Vega had a wonderful idea, which is going to her husband's restaurant to treat these people, because, that's a familiar place, and if things go awry, it'll be easy for them to locate them there. And good so happens, I can't even talk today, and a good thing that happened, because Carlos remembered after they found out that things were going wrong and he couldn't get a hold of TK. He talked to Owen. Owen hadn't heard from TK. Owen tried to call the station to find out about Captain Vega. Nobody knew where anybody was. But then Owen got that call. He was like, okay, sure, yeah, they're totally fine. They're out on call. He tells Gwen that, but once they get outside, I love the fact that he kept it a secret from Gwen, because he didn't want to worry her. But nobody has heard from Captain Vega or anybody all night at all. So they go out and they start the searching. They find some things. Carlos realizes that this is the van that they were looking for, a brown panel van, and he finds TK sobriety chip. Not sobriety. I think it's sobriety chip. And, no, is it? Anyway, he finds his chip, and he kind of puts the connection together that these are the guys, and then he realizes that he talked to Captain Vega's husband and realized that, well, the only place they would go is her restaurant, his restaurant. So let's go there, and we find out. Now, all of everything else is cool. It's great. It's fine. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. Let's talk about the part where this dude wakes up and shoot his partner, man. No, you blew me up. That's what you did. And he shot the man. He shot him, killed him dead. And now they had some witnesses. They didn't know what they were going to do. But Captain Vega saw an opportunity, because they needed somebody to keep dude stable, because he wasn't stable. But she was like, if you let my people go, I'll go with you. But you got to guarantee me their safety. Now, that was cool. That was all great and wonderful. But let's talk about that moment that they decided to kind of flip the script. Nancy hit old girl with the chair. Captain Vega stuck the dude with a syringe. And then Owen came in and popped the dude. Pop, 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 pop. Dude, That was legit, man. Like I thought it would have been Carlos because we know he picked up the gun that TK kicked away. But I thought it would have been Carlos, but it wasn't. It was Owen, and Owen came in here, pop, pop, and like precision, man. He hit dude in the shoulder, and like he didn't die. Come on, man. This episode was legit. I don't know about anybody else, but I just loved this freaking episode, man. It was so good, and it was such a nice finale. Just like 911 did, where it kind of wrapped everything up, and it didn't leave you wondering with the cliffhangers, except for that one major cliffhanger. 911 Lone Star done the exact same thing. They wrapped everything else up, and we see that TK and his parents are on good terms and everything. And then we see Judd and Grace just riding down the highway, having a good old fantastic time as husband and wife, and they're on their way to Judd's father's house, and they're talking about children. And when I saw the rainy road, and it was raining, and it was like heavy rain, I knew an accident was gonna happen. And this was the winter finale. I knew it needed a good cliffhanger. And you telling me, it upset me to my core. You telling me, first of all, I love Judd and Grace. I love me some Judd and Grace. And you telling me Judd and Grace ended up going off the freaking bridge and into the water? And then they just left it hanging and dangling with the 911 call. Oh my gosh, man. Like I said, the episode was great because it connected everything. It was just one major case, but that cliffhanger though, man, oh my gosh. That cliffhanger got me feeling some type of way, man. I love me some Judd and Grace, and I don't want neither one of them to die, and I don't want Judd to not be able to be a firefighter anymore, and I want Grace to go back to her job. I don't want nothing to happen. Just put them in the water and save them, and nothing's wrong with them, because I'm going to be all kinds of upset if something is wrong with either one of them. I'm rambling now, but this your boy, Incredible, man. Don't forget to smash the like button so you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them, and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. And remember that 911 and 911 Lone Star both are on break, but when they come back in April, I'm gonna be up on it, man. Peace out. I cannot complain because today, I'm doing my thing.